live. So we are streaming the meeting live this morning so that folks who wanted to participate but didn't feel comfortable or didn't want to come in the snowstorm, we moved it up to avoid the winter weather. And I looked up after the early service and see snowflakes in the air. So like many things in 2020, the best laid plans. So we are streaming live this morning. So I thank Kristen for helping us out with keeping the video component going. Hopefully everybody, as they came in, got a ballot. If you didn't have yours from last week, if you need one, Donna has them at the back. So we want to make sure everyone that's here has a ballot. Again, we'll be doing the voting at the end. We'll be working through the agenda today. And typically we kind of do a vote after each section. A little bit different today. We're just going to do one ballot at the end, but we'll definitely discuss, we'll have our conversation as we go. I have Pastor watching the live stream for us, so if you're joining us online, please enter a question or a comment in the chat, and Pastor will relay that up to us. And then if anyone in the room has a question, we as presenters, and that's Jim Slavacek, Rod Caro, and myself, we'll do our best to relay that so everyone in the room hears it, but especially those online can hear what the conversation is, and we'll keep them as connected as we can. So if questions come up as we go, just let me know. I think those are kind of the big differences for today. So before we get started, I'd like Pastor to come up and open us with a prayer, please.
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you for your presence with us. You know the challenges that we face in this year. You know how dispirited we are. We ask that your Holy Spirit would be present with us to guide us, to draw us together, to reveal to us your will, and give us the strength to carry it out and the wisdom. We ask for your presence, knowing that you have promised to supply it when we ask. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, thank you, Pastor. So we have the agenda up. So it's a pretty full agenda this year because we do have a section near the end around the Northwest District Convention that's coming up in 2021 again. So we have a couple of items to discuss on that, so we'll need to fit that in. So unless there are any questions about... Yes? So for those online who may not have heard, Karen asked a question. They've been gone for the summer, received a letter that Brittany has resigned as our DCE, and she would like some more information around her words were cause and effect. Brittany has resigned. So Karen, we knew that was probably going to be a topic that come up this morning. So what I've asked Bruce to do is, to be able to take this into a meeting with the elders, because it is really their area to discuss with you if there are people who have specific questions around that. I will let you know that we've been in contact with the Northwest District throughout the process, all the way up to President Linneman, and we've been following their guidance, but it's... Well, again, it was to seek advice and make sure that we were doing things appropriately, because wanted to make sure we were doing the right things for Brittany, the right things for the congregation, and so we reached out for advice. But there's things still in motion. There's not a ton that we can share at this point, again, from the advice of the district, but we could have, and I don't know if Bruce is in the room, but Bruce and the elders, if you would like to have a conversation, and there are probably others in the room that want to have a conversation about that, we could have a special elders meeting for the congregation to ask those questions. Go ahead, Wayne.
I can say this as an elder. You don't know. You have reached out to her and she has not come back to us with anyone. We've made several efforts to get a hold of her and have had no response from her. So right now, the best I can tell you, this is all still up in the air. It's not resolved. And I can't tell you when it's going to be resolved. We're not going to resolve it right here and now. That's not going to happen. We don't know. All we know is that she is not coming forward with any kind of information that we, like I said, we tried to reach out to her, but have no response.
So again, Karen, I hope this doesn't feel like a sweep it under the rug, because that's not what my intent is, but we do have several things to get through this morning, and there really is, the elders are taking the point on this for us. Yeah.
I think what Karen's kind of getting at there too is this decision that we're making right here is kind of based on what she's asking. And it is getting swept under the rug. And this ministry plan in the future has nothing to do with children and youth. And no planning for it, no thing. What are we doing? It is a very big part of what our decision is going forward. Very much so. And why is she doing this? And she did have a meeting with elders. The elders kind of know what was going on, where they were feeling. And that, because she didn't feel like she was being heard, that's why she resigned.
Well, what I would like to recommend is let's at least get Jim up here to walk through the ministry plan for us. I know you have the written version in front of you, but he has some additional details that he'll be talking through. So let's get that agenda item on the floor so we can talk through it, and then Ron.
I'm hearing everybody else speak in purpose. And I'm going to tell you right now that to vote on this, to vote on a slate of officers, when I'm looking around and hearing different opinions coming at us tonight,
Yeah.
that the budget, even the budget, I'm disappointed because I wanted at least 2 years of, Rod can provide us, he does an incredible job of what was last year's result finalized. So people can look at this before they come to the meeting so they feel comfortable here. And
Rod, come
I
on.
was given the opportunity.
Rod, will you come up so the folks online can hear? So there was a question, folks watching online. Ron has asked a question about the budget numbers, so I've asked Rod to come up and share us.
Yeah, that lack of information is on me. I was given the opportunity to gin those numbers up for this meeting. I thought the best approach, hopefully will make more sense after I get done, but I will address certain things just in my talk. And of course, I do a year-end report that has all of those comparisons in it, and that's available to people too. But if there's something that you want to know that I don't cover in my talk, I will answer that for you.
Well, and what I'm trying to do here, Rod and Mike, is I'm trying to separate our agenda a little bit. Because if the congregation doesn't feel comfortable two-step thing and have another voters meeting. That's what I'm asking. Because I'm hearing of people that are uncomfortable, and we shouldn't come to this meeting uncomfortable. We should come as a family together. So I'm asking, and I don't know if we should put it before the people here. We've got people at home, we don't know how they would want to vote, but we need to be together, and we aren't. And so, should we have meetings?
Why do you want to change the whole agenda? I don't get it.
Because I'm hearing people that are, we should not in a congregation try to jam something, and it sounds like they feel like they're jamming. Did I misunderstand? No, okay.
So let me just recap again for the folks watching online. So there's concern about moving forward with the agenda today because of the concerns about surrounding Brittany's resignation, and a conversation that members of the congregation want to have around that. What the leadership team and the stewardship team has done is recognize that Brittany has resigned. We need to have a plan to move forward without Brittany. We need to work through that issue, right, and share what is appropriate with the congregation. Again, seeking guidance on what that is, because there are things in the works, and so we have to know what we can and can't share. But Brittany has resigned, and so what this plan and budget has done is try to put a plan in place, right, a plan to look into 2021 and to lay out some major objectives, again, with the few volunteers that we currently have, the people that we have available, the things that, Jim and others in the leadership working with the elders and other folks have pulled together and said, hey, we see these as immediate needs in the congregation that we're going to try to address with this plan, and then, budget in alongside of that to support it. Now, like with everything, right, as things change in our COVID situation, as things change around us, plans get adjusted. But we need to have a plan and a budget for 2021. So we did our best with Brittany's resignation to do just that. And that's what today was to say, here's the plan. Now, it's the congregations, we should still, just a second, Karen, let me finish this for the folks online. I think we should proceed through the plan, and you can vote it down. Right? If this is unacceptable to the congregation, that's what today's meeting is about. We present the plan to you and the proposed budget. This is what we have, done our best to put together in light of current situation. And if you find that unacceptable, then that's your right to vote it down. And then we will come back to you with another round of whatever that is to fill in those gaps or questions or whatever was not acceptable to the congregation. Then we as the current leadership have a responsibility to come back and readdress those. But today we've put a plan in front of you. We need to present that plan to you, and you either approve it and say, yep, even in light of the things that are happening with Brittany and unknown questions and concerns, that is a plan that I can support as a member of this congregation to move forward in 2021, or that plan is not acceptable to me as a member of this congregation, and you vote it down, and then we as leadership come back with another round. But we do have a proposal for you today that we really need to walk through, present to you, that you ask questions on, so that you can vote yea or nay.
One of my questions, another one of my questions is, okay, when we came back, we no longer have Carl, we no longer have Janelle providing live music, we don't have a custodian, however, I understand there has been a replacement. We're losing people. You talk in your budget about volunteers. Where are your volunteers coming? They're going to other churches. We went to St. John's last weekend,
So again, folks online, Karen was again expressing her concerns about the people who have left the congregation that she has seen at other congregations, and you know, I truly appreciate your feedback, Karen, but I really want to move forward with the agenda today. Unless, I mean, you're the congregation. If you want to, somebody wants to make a motion that we, you know, cancel the budget and the thing right now, I mean, I would have to take that motion, but I would propose that we at least let the people who have put the information together, let them present the information to you, ask your questions about it, and then make your decision, right? You ultimately have the power to vote it up or vote it down, and we will then have to come back to you. And it's not to say these other conversations can't and won't happen. They need to happen. Clearly, we have all the elders or most of the elders in the room today, so they're hearing the voices, and this really falls into the elders to follow up on that for us. But could we move through let's let Jim come up and at least present his ministry plan and see if you have specific questions around that. I know you have our bigger concerns, but we do need a plan to move forward with. And again, a plan is a plan, and plans can be adjusted. And maybe this plan gets thrown out by all of you, but I would like to, a lot of work has gone into getting it ready, again, trying to take into account where we currently are, not only with Brittany's resignation, but just the whole variety of things that are going on around us as a congregation in our community. So, can I get anybody? I feel like we're stuck. Could I get a little bit of a nod or something? Could we move forward with letting Jim present his ministry plan? And if after you hear that, we can kind of take each piece as we go here. Because we really can't discuss the Brittany piece today. We just can't. So
Why don't we have Jim come on up and
I'm going to invite Jim Slavacek to come up and walk through the ministry plan that's been put together and proposed for 2021, and we can have a conversation about that after Jim's done. You want your bullet points?
Yeah. Morning, everybody. The ministry plan and this meeting is required by our Constitution. The way the plan works is the leadership team begins working on it late summer normally. And of course, we had hoped by that point the virus situation had been more or less resolved, which it hasn't. And then, of course, we had the personnel issues, which flared up in the fall. So we were constantly redoing, revamping, rewriting what we could do reasonably for the year 2021. There was a comment before or between services that the leadership team is very small. Well, it is now because you had to take a couple of members off the team, and it was their choice. Charles Robeson served us for, it's got to be between the Constitution and leadership going on 5 years. So it was time for him to take a break, and he's backed away from that. Ethan Scott was also part of it, and of course, the Scotts have backed away. But I want to thank them both for all the work they did, because it's not an easy job. It's looking at what we could do, maybe should be doing, and then trying to figure out what we reasonably can do going forward. So the way I want to do this morning is actually read the first page, which is kind of like the vision statement for this coming year, which was a very difficult one, and then look at the plan going forward. So the text is, as it became evident that the coronavirus pandemic would disrupt our lives well beyond 2020, Pilgrim's leadership team began discussions about the future of our church. Every aspect, and I mean every aspect, of the Pilgrim operation is being examined and evaluated and reevaluated in view of the fearful atmosphere and functional restrictions with which we must now contend. Our ultimate goal is to restructure Pilgrim for the new world in which we find ourselves. Doing nothing and hoping for a return to the past is not a reasonable option. Our goal is not just survival, but rather to use the Holy Spirit's guidance to thrive in God's mission going forward. As we continue to discuss and associate recurring items, 3 general areas emerged. Given our shrinking volunteer base and available resources, 3 large goals seemed appropriate and workable for 2021. First being the nurturing network development, 2, technology advancement, and 3, relaunching public ministry. In the nurturing network, creating and sustaining our life groups has been a central goal for Pilgrim for the last 2 years. We had some early success, but then the virus hit us and caused a slowdown of this effort. With virus restrictions eliminating virtually all of our 2020 plan, the life groups need to be a larger part of an expanded effort to keep people connected to Pilgrim and to each other. However, in addition to the life groups, members need other opportunities to do this. Therefore, another system of groups in the Nurturing Network can provide the communication, support, and care that many people crave during these difficult times. The technology advancement element has been part of our plans in a smaller way for a few years, but the virus situation has forced us to rethink and accelerate innovations necessary to provide quality worship services and Bible study opportunities, not only in person but also online. Technology can help us form and maintain caring networks of relationships among our community. Finally, some programs and activities may never again feel safe for some people. A result of this traumatic virus event is that normal parts of our daily lives at Pilgrim and in our neighborhoods have become sources of fear, and therefore our volunteer base is likely to shrink even further. Therefore, a reduced number of Pilgrim ministry teams for 2021 will enable us to continue working toward our discipleship mission. So what I did, we put together the plan, and then we sent out the survey that went out. And so what I did is I went through the survey results that we had, and I associated some of the comments in the surveys to the 3 bullet points here that are in the plan. And so what I'll do is talk about the survey results or comments first, and then look at the bullet items under each item. So for the first bullet there, it's the nurturing network development. And again, what we're talking there is we have our system of life groups. And for those who have maybe forgotten, and to refresh your memories, the life groups are intended to provide and build those really strong relationships between people, become better neighbors, better friends, but also to grow as Christians and become disciples and reach out and create more disciples. For some people, that was a step they felt uncomfortable with, and so the number of life groups has stayed fairly small, but that's okay. They'll grow. But there's another system of groups that's needed because many people are living in isolation right now, and they're looking, one of the comments on the survey was, we want to improve personal contact, find a way to let members know when there is a need by a fellow member. So this second system of groups would be a way to provide that ongoing communication and care between people. So for example, if Agnes and Gordon were in that caring kind of group, we'd be texting back and forth or emailing, texting back and forth during the week. And the questions could be, how you guys doing? Do you need any help? Oh yeah, we're not feeling too good. Would you mind going to the store or doing some errands for us? And so, but it keeps people connected to each other and to Pilgrim. There was more survey comments, offer much more for youth, college-aged young couples and families. And again, this is an item that's not unique to Pilgrim. I was down in Florida about 3 weeks ago visiting some old college friends. Huge congregation, same problem. It's a congregation of 4,000 people. They had about 200 in church, and there were 2 kids there. And so every congregation is battling the same issue. If somebody has the brilliant solution on this one, boy, I think we'd all love to hear it, because I'm not sure how you entice young families through the doors. So back to the bullets under the Nurturing Network Development. I'm going to look at the second and third ones first. We want to train 4 to 6 additional life group leaders and get the groups that are kind of in hiatus reinvigorated and starting again. The ones that are still in operation, to continue in operation. We'd like to have, or really like to have, some youth-led life groups with an adult mentor to kind of guide them in the process. And we have dates there for that. And of course, the plague is battling against us. We had some people who were scheduled to go for group leader training this month. But again, because of the situation in Idaho, that training was canceled. So we have to wait again into probably the mid-year. And finally, back to that, the top bullet, organize all interested members and willing friends into small networks of relationships in order to provide consistent care, really strengthen that communication between people, and encourage participation in our mission and ministries, even when we can't meet face-to-face here at Pilgrim. And I think that series of groups is needed. There's some people we haven't seen since February. We hear from them on Facebook, which is nice. There's some phone calls, but just being able to see a face, even if it's on Zoom, is just kind of a comforting situation. And that's what we want to try to build. Other survey comments that people had in this area, and I forget how many surveys we sent out, but we got about 25 back? 28? Okay. So about 28 back, so it's probably in the area, maybe 20% of the total, thereabouts. Yeah. Which is typical. That's not bad, actually, for surveys. Other things people commented on: you do more for local people who need help, regain focus on outreach and younger families, and continue to focus on our life groups. And we'll take questions on this, but let me get through these bullets first, and then we'll go back and take questions. The second bullet really helps us with the first, under technology advancement. There were some things or some ways or some things and tools we need to form these other series of groups. And part of it is based in technology. So we looked at and we talked about and decided we need a team that's going to provide ongoing support to help people use their devices they already have to participate in online ministries. And again, that might mean Zoom meetings for these small caring groups. It might mean Zoom or some other protocol for meetings for the life groups. Many folks, and there were survey comments here, that people either their computers weren't working correctly for them so they could access Zoom, or they're not computer literate to begin with, or they have trouble hearing their computers, and these are all issues that can be fixed fairly simply. And so the second item under technology advancement is to research, development, and support, looking at getting simple computer devices. And these are like the Amazon Fire tablets that you can get for like anywhere from $30 to $50. So if a person is having trouble connecting, they could have one of these tablets. One of the members of our technology team could come and help them get it set up, and so they could participate and actually talk to other folks at Pilgrim. If need be, we were looking at funding Zoom subscriptions for life group leaders and for the smaller nurturing network facilitators. Zoom subscriptions cost about $16 a month. However, there's a free aspect of Zoom, so maybe many of these groups would just want to make contact several times a week to talk to each other, and that feature is free, up to 45 minutes, I believe. We want to continue to improve and support worship and Bible study, and you've already seen that if you've been following online. Mike and Kristen are trying to drag me up into the production facility, and it's kind of fascinating. It's kind of like watching folks put together a football broadcast where you have different screens up, and you can kind of frame things the way you want to, move things around, and pick the screen you want to go live. So more learning to be done on that part, but that's come a long way since back in March and April. We want to look at, and one thing we really need, which would support all aspects of the plan and all aspects of Pilgrim, is we've been talking about this for 2 or 3 years. We'd love to have a part-time tech/marketing person who would help us really put Pilgrim out there in the community and let folks know what we do, who we are, and what we are doing on a recurring basis. The last bullet under technology advancement is under the communication piece, is to continue to implement installation of electronic reader board. And you probably noticed that little construction zone there at the end of the property here. The signboard is going to be in probably at the end of the month. I was kind of recruited/drafted to be the head of the group to program the board. So I'll be looking for 3 people to help me do that, take a training class, and then looking what it takes to enter info into that board and keep it updated. Let's see, under the survey comments there, again, people couldn't get their computers to work, which I do understand that one. They need help getting it set up. There were some, I don't want to say complaints, but critiques, Pilgrim areas needing improvement, communication, online production, connection between the pastor and members, and member-to-member communication. And so I think we tried to address that in this technology piece. Looking for online outreach, and increase the awareness that going forward in the future, the online church is where we're going to be at. The in-person programs and worship will still be here, but it's not going to be the way it was before the virus hit. I think the old days are gone. We talk about bouncing back from this. You don't bounce back. We have to look at bouncing forward and what we can reasonably do to stay effective. And the last thing from the surveys was improve the communication and continue to expand our online presence to reach young families and the youth, because that's where they are. Again, looking at the church we went to with our friends in Florida, yeah, they have a congregation of 4,000, but they all look like me. You know, they're all in their 70s. And there were a few folks, the young ones, are in their 50s, and that's not quite what we're looking at, but that's where they are. The third bullet, and this is the most problematic, and it's relaunching public ministry. Because in this area, there's many things we do not control at Pilgrim. We're kind of at the mercy of some of the decrees from on high. How we react to them and adapt to them, that varies by group. You know, we tend to be following the mandates from the governor and the state as close as we can to avoid any shutdowns of the whole congregation if something goes wrong. Other churches don't. They're rolling the dice and making the gamble, and it's a decision groups have to make. So under relaunching public ministry, we're looking at reevaluating these large group activities as the state hopefully starts to reopen sometime during 2021. The second bullet, and this is the one I think that Karen and Heather were really talking about, how do you relaunch family and youth ministry when there's no youth director, So that's part of what putting together a plan means. You put it together these are goals always. You'd like to get there, and we're going to try to get there. What it looks like, we're not sure yet. Along the same line, develop and implement a revised staffing plan, pilot alternative ministry team structures. And what that means is, if you recall from our Constitution, we had, 4, 5, 6, I think 6 different teams. But if you look at, and you'll see in a couple of moments, the people who were involved in the teams, that number is down to 11 people. So it's these 11 people, and the same names show up on multiple teams. So the base for getting anything done has gotten fairly small. And then reevaluate ministry team accountability structures, and that's, again, a joint effort between leadership, but it's mostly an elder issue. And this has been a topic of conversation for, again, a couple of years. Under the survey comments here, Oh, people ask that we work on areas that members find unsatisfactory, and of course, it was funny, and as I read through the comments, where some people would say worship is just the best. I love it. Others would say, boy, worship is terrible. I'm not finding it useful at all. And so it's really hard to decide what we're supposed to be doing. Some like the music, some don't like the music. Some like pastor's sermons. Others said they're not inspiring me. And I guess that's kind of like one of my students when I was critiquing her, and she said, haven't you ever heard of self-esteem? I said, yes, I have, but I can't give it to you. That's why it's called self-esteem. So in some of these cases, you have to decide for yourself what you're getting from the service or a sermon to be worthwhile or inspiring or feeding your soul. Let's see. A couple other comments from the surveys. Continue to improve areas that members find excellent, which were the same ones that others found unsatisfactory. When able, bring back activities that promote fellowship and connections. Boy, that's really the hope, that we can get back to that piece of normalcy so we start looking like the old Pilgrim. Okay. Again, revamp family, child, youth, and adult ministry, so basically across the board. And the final comment that I found interesting was, which again, we are two congregations, find a way to merge the two on a regular basis through fellowship activities. There was also that part of that comment was, let's just do one service rather than doing two on Sunday. And of course, for those who are familiar with that from the past, when you do that, you get even a smaller attendance because you don't get more people, you get fewer. And that's been our history here at Pilgrim ever since we've been here, which is 16 years now. Yes? Mm-hmm. Okay, so the question/comment was, why don't we go to the one service on Sundays to get more folks together to feel like we're actually more like a real, I don't know, bad term, old-style congregation again, where you have more folks in the pews. And I know where you're coming from, and it'd be great to do, but when we've tried that in the past, it just doesn't work. There's some people like, it's always a smaller number. You don't get, it's not, like this morning we had 22 people in 8 o'clock. So if you had 22 and maybe you have 25 in the late service, you think, we should get 47 in a combined service, and that never works out. You always get a smaller number. So, and it's why, I have no idea, but some people are so wedded to traditional or more of a contemporary. Yeah, and then we'll come back.
That's it, Jim. The early service people, most of them won't go to the contemporary service, and contemporary people won't go to the early.
Yeah, I know. It's always interesting. Lynette and I experiment once in a while. We'll go back and forth, but we tend to be 8 o'clock people. And yeah, Pastor.
Jim, are you opening up for questions at this time?
Yeah, the bullets are done, so we'll take questions now. Ola had a comment first before. Got it covered?
Timmy from us asking online about the person in the ministry plan, considering a tech person. And his question is that to be a W-2 staff or a 1099 contracted person? Is there any answer to that at this point?
No, there's no answer to that one. The question was, again, is this going to be a full-time staff person or basically a contract kind of worker? If it was my opinion, I assume it's going to be more of a contract worker, contract for X number of hours a week to come in and work on marketing / tech. Yeah. Oh, let's get the young boys. Since we have the young boys.
So, you were talking about wanting to entice the youth, right?
Mm-hmm.
going to relay that. I was
Yeah.
going to try to relay it.
No, it's great. So to relay that question, our only charter is the plan. We work the plan. We try to adapt the plan as we go through the year. So I wish I could say I have a great answer, but I don't on that one.
Jim, as most of you know, you belong to Salem in Conroe, Texas for 12 or 13 years. And it's one of the larger churches now. It's 250 members that they joined. It was about 3,500 when we left, and it's bigger than that now. And they have an extremely active youth program. And I would be glad to talk to anybody who wants to hear about why it is. It's one of the, it is the oldest Lutheran church in Texas, which doesn't hurt it. But people, they start with the beginning, it's a life at birth to death type.
Maybe, hopefully adapt some of the things they're doing to our situation to help, especially with youth and growth in general.
And they have a huge online presence. It's Salem Lutheran Church,
Okay, Salem Lutheran Church down in
Tomball, Texas.
Tomball? Oh, yeah, Tomball, okay. And the last half of the comment was that church has a large online presence also. See, let's go way in the back, Jerry. So the comment from Ed was that could we possibly have the sermon kind of like closed caption TV showing up on the screen? So for those folks who really can't understand, either because of sound levels or working through a mask, to make the words understandable and have the message really come through. I know it can be really discouraging. When you can't hear things, you stop listening is what happens, and you separate yourself even further, and that's what we don't want. So it's those kind of suggestions that we need. Okay, let's see. There was Laura.
This sort of leads sort of into budget, but if the congregation decides that it's important to have a staff person for family and youth ministries, where in the budget would that come? Because I'm interested in this, develop and implement a revised staffing plan. The budget has a pastor, a secretary, and custodian. Is that going to be extended to staffing? If we add new staff, where is the money going to come from?
Okay, that's a good question.
So let's pick that up in the book.
Yeah, we'll get that in the budget piece. The question was, if we're going to have a new person as this tech/marketing type, where's the money going to come from?
Well, actually, I was thinking more of youth ministries.
Oh, or the youth, well, both, I think, yeah. Yeah, because we need both at some point. So the youth ministry person and/or the marketing person, how is that going to fit with the budget we're presenting? Any other questions purely about the plan before I turn it over to Rob? 'Cause I don't want to say I'm out of time, but, I'm still good, aren't I? No, I'm not. They expired a long time ago. Okay, let me get out of the way. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you. I really regret not sending out a statement with this budget because unlike budgets in the past, it's really a special purpose budget. What I did was project into the future our expenses and our operations as they exist today. I just didn't have enough information about the timing or the expense of the other things that Jim's talked about. So it seemed to me the best way forward was to put together a conservative income estimate our more or less fixed expenses as our operations exist now and see what the bottom line was. That bottom line would give us some kind of parameters that we could put around the additional leadership initiatives that we intend to launch in 2021. So if the programs that you care about most aren't in the budget, it's for that reason. We just wanted to see how much money, conservative again on our income estimates, we would have to launch these things. So that is really the heart and soul of the budget. And so yeah, the staff as it exists now is what's in the budget. I don't want to repeat myself, but that was really the intention. And the $32,000 is the number that fell out. So that's a place to start planning from. Oop, I screwed that up. Good. I had extensive comments about 2020, but in the interest of time, I think I'll just say we're going to have a sizable surplus for 2020. So in addition to the positive results from the 2021 forecast, we'll have really healthy cash reserves going into next year so that we can take some risks with different elements of the plan that we might want to implement. Questions about how we compare to the budget that we did for 2020. The church income for the 2020 budget was $317,000. The budget for 2021 is $266,000. Certain pieces of our income are just going to go away. The rental of the facility to the homeschool people. We used to do better on passing the plate and getting loose checks and cash. That's diminished. I will say, positive, those little yellow envelopes, they continue to come in. People drop them off, people put them in the mail. It's really been good to see the congregation continue to support the church and get that money in and keep us stable. And on the expense side, the preschool has been capacity constrained. They can't have enough kids to meet their expenses. They're running about $1,000 a month, I think, under what they really need. So the church is going to have to support them. But our overall expenses were $366,000 in the 2020 budget, $262,000 in the 2021 budget. So we've tried to reflect the reality of the church as it is now in the 2021 budget. And I hope I've explained some of the assets that we have going forward that we can implement along with the leadership points. Happy to answer any questions. One question. With all the talk about the P&L, we're getting close to the bottom of that. Turn real quickly to that. The balance at the loan at the end of October was $260,000. That's down from $1,014,000 when we started. So we're just a few years away from getting that paid back. We've had a number of budget cuts since the coronavirus took over the economy. I'm sorry, interest rate cuts since the Fed has adjusted for the coronavirus on the economy. And so I suspect we're still about 3 years or so away from getting it paid off. Anything else? Yes?
I have a question on the expense side on the employee grant. How does that compare to last year? See that we're going to be less staff members for 2021?
Yeah, that's about...
Is that planning on adding somebody if the budget allows the pressure?
No, it's not adding anybody. It's our current staff. So it's going to be down, I think the family premium, which is what we have for pastor, is $2,500 a month. So if we hire another person and they have a family that they want to put onto the plan, that would be roughly $28,000 to add in addition to their salary. Anything else? Mike?
All right, thanks, Rod, and thanks, Jim. So on the ballot, if you have your ballot in front of you, those two items that we just talked through, the ministry plan and the budget, because they go together, right? What are we planning to do in the coming year? And then how are we planning to allocate dollars to achieve those things? Those two things go together, so we vote on those as a package, the ministry plan and the budget. So you should see those as a single line item on your ballot. So before we move off of that line item, I just want to check real quickly again. See if there's any things that's come up on the ministry plan while Rod was describing the budget or budget items. Yeah, Cheryl. Oh, sorry. Cheryl asked how many people are on the plan. I'll let Rod answer that. He took my
You have to work you have to work a minimum of 30 hours a week to qualify for the health plan. Heather stops counting at 29, so that leaves Pastor on the health plan. It's family, and it's a very generous plan. It covers everything. Heather and Pastor and Cheryl are in the retirement plan, disability, and those are the big pieces, I think. And accident insurance. No. Well, I quoted the CHP, the medical part, but there's other elements in the benefit package as well. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's definitely, looking into the future and making our best guess. I tried to recognize the fact that even with normal attrition, without our front doors open for people to come in and get a flavor for the congregation and what our live service is, it's going to be really hard to replace anyone who leaves just because they have to move out of town. I've kind of looked at the lowest months of income we've had since the COVID occurred and use that as my base. Whether or not that's achievable, I don't know, but it's less income in many months than we have experienced in 2021. I'm sorry, in 2020. So I don't think I'm being overly aggressive. I'm trying to be conservative, and we hope that will pan out. We just don't know. Again, we are going to go into the year with healthy cash reserves. So if we have to make some adjustments, we have a little fat on our skeleton that we can draw on.
All right, great questions, thank you. So we're running a little short on time since we do have a 10:45 worship service, but we do have a couple of things to get through yet. So with that, here's the slate of ministry leaders. So this is the group of elders, the folks on the leadership team, and the folks on the stewardship team. You'll notice, as Jim alluded to in his ministry plan overview, we've essentially shrunk the teams for next year to 3 and consolidated those duties into, again, mostly into the elders to pick up those areas for us and helping us support the items that Jim listed in the ministry plan. So that's why you see those on hold. Again, we're just trying to do our best to anticipate, who is available to do the things to achieve our goals in 2021. And if, as things start to open and as things become available or as we have more information, I think Jim did a nice job of saying we'll make those adjustments as needed. And, as Rod said, we have some budget cushion going into next year so that we can start to look at those potentials. So I don't think there's anybody new on the list. These are all returning folks who are in these roles today that are on the list in front of you and on the ballot. We do still have an opening for the secretary on the stewardship team. Donna Gamble has been filling in the interim for us, but we still really need to fill that on a full-time basis. So if someone in the room today is up for that job, we would take a nomination. But if not, I'll keep looking post-meeting for someone.
And Mike, also, like for leadership team, I didn't put out the press gang to sweep the streets to find more people. But if folks want to join the leadership team and work on the plan both for this year and moving forward, yeah, just let us know, because the meetings are always open for folks to come. And we always need fresh young blood.
So Jim extended for folks online, Jim extended the offer that if you have an interest in being part of the leadership team, he's certainly interested in having that conversation. Or if you don't want to have a formal role on the team, but would just like to, attend a meeting or bring some information to contribute, again, as we're trying to solidify the plan as we get into the year, he would be open to that. And we have a regular meeting schedule, so Jim can let you know what that is. Yep, go ahead.
I was just looking up here, like the discipleship, the worship team, and the relationship team. It's kind of sad, there's no one there, and that's all the younger youth ministry.
Yeah, so the comment was the discipleship team, worship team, and relationship team don't have anyone on them, and that it's sad. And I don't disagree.
Well, I would disagree with that. And here's my question. When I was running, I've been in the leadership for
Relationship. Mhm.
leader. I was kind of wondering why nobody's talked to me about, well, Terry, are you going to continue on? Well, now I understand. I'm on hold. What does on hold mean? For me, I don't know what on hold means. I've been understanding, and maybe this is going to get to your question too, Daryl. The communication, I'm a team leader, and I haven't talked to anybody or been asked to be involved in any of future plans, our congregational
Okay. So folks online, that was Kerry Schmidt sharing with us his concerns. He's been the leader of the relationship team for many years. Kerry, it was my understanding that you've been working collaboratively with the elders, so that's obviously a miss on my part, so I apologize for that. And then he raised his concerns about, the way that we're having to worship, and I won't be able to paraphrase the whole thing, but Kerry did a nice job of sharing his input on that. Heather.
So Kurt, I understand, I'm actually on staff, and I haven't been asked one time to have any input on any of this.
Okay, Heather just shared that she's on staff and she has not been asked to provide input. Kristen.
So, at the beginning of this meeting, Karen said things have done for the department. People are not knowing what's happening down the church. We find out yet another family has left because of, their youth group somewhere. We have Lizzie's Park. We just don't have young people. Now we don't have, a person to promote that. And that's the way that goes. But we're losing people all the time. So the budget is very important. We do need to, go over that. But perhaps we need a meeting to brainstorm what's happening in children. Something is happening and people are leaving right now, people that I never thought would go. And I'm really concerned about it.
Yeah, just real quick, folks online, that Kristen was sharing her concerns about the people that are leaving, the changes that have been happening. So thank you for sharing that. Pastor.
Carolyn comments on Ryan, who is one of the parents of a young family. She says it's really hard to be a young family with a son who really wants to come to church, but wants more than just going to a service. He wants to learn more in a way that a young child can.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor. So another family sharing.
Which I still teach in schools. We have schools going here in Spokane, and we don't have a Sunday school here. These kids have been very outstanding at adapting to what they have to do in the school system. They've been incredible. Yet we can't have Sunday school here. Why not?
Yeah, so Carrie was asking the question, why can't we have Sunday school here when we've figured it out in the school districts, how to have our kiddos be in the classroom safely? Well, I think so. Kristen asked, do we make a motion to have a brainstorming meeting? We can take that motion. What we need to do is wrap this up so all of you can vote on what we've presented today, right? Because the clock's against us here. But yeah, we can definitely. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't like the leadership team. I don't think Bruce and Donna should both be on it. I would say the same thing as John and me. You're shrinking the team by one member by having a married couple or family members on it. I think somebody else could have been found to be on there. And it looks bad.
Okay. Concerns about having Bruce and Donna both on the leadership team. Sorry. That was the example. That was, sorry. Yeah, my part. That was. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. Not that it was Bruce and Donna, but two people from the same family on the same team. I shared a concern about that. Wayne.
Just to move this along, I'd just like to say, the way the names are presented on it, if there's somebody that you don't like or you don't want on the elders, or the leadership team, or the spiritual team, just cross off and say no. That's the way it helps.
Yeah, so Wayne offers a suggestion if there's someone on the list that you don't like when you're voting, to go ahead and cross them off as part of your voting process. So there is one last item as we wrap up, and we do need to wrap up. Good conversation today, but we do have, because we're in the sanctuary, we have a 10:45 service. We do need to wrap up. I wanted to let the congregation know we did have a couple of volunteers for our delegates for the Northwest District. So again, these are the proposed delegates: Wayne Clemens represented us 3 years ago at the district convention. He has volunteered to be our delegate again. So if you would go ahead and write Wayne in as the lay delegate. And Ralph has volunteered to be the alternate should Wayne not be able to attend. So, and then, of course, Pastor Kirk will be our pastoral delegate for that convention. And that's coming up June 2021. So if you could add Wayne and Ralph as write-ins, I would appreciate that. And again, just in the spirit of getting things wrapped up so we can quickly change over for our 10:45 service, just a quick reminder on the balloting. Those of you who are in the room today, if you've made your decision and you want to leave it with us, Donna has a drop box, I believe, that she'll be collecting those as you leave the congregation today. If you need more time for whatever reason, you have this week to get it back to us. So you can fold it up, drop it in the mail to the church office. It's on the bottom of the ballot. Both Donna's email address and the church address are on the bottom of the ballot. So if you don't want to vote today before you leave, you can certainly email that in or hard copy mail it in. And we'll be doing the official count on Saturday the 14th and presenting the results after each service next Sunday. So with that, Pastor, would you come up and close us with a quick... Yes, Ron.
Why can't we have a motion on the floor? It's been suggested.
Sure.
People would like to perhaps have another meeting. Why don't we just, right here, have a vote, because we have enough people.
You have enough? Sure.
Would we like to have another meeting? I'm proposing that we do have another congregational meeting. And if there's a second to that, we can vote on it. Be out of here.
Let's do it. So Ron offered a motion to have a second congregational meeting to discuss several of the topics that were brought up today with the congregation through the leaders. So Ron made that motion. We had a second. So is there any further discussion about that? And sorry, folks online, we're... Yeah, we have to at least get it posted for 2 weeks to have a congregational meeting, but it's going to likely have to be in December at this point, early in December, which is somewhat ironic. That's probably going to end up being the date when we normally have our voters meeting. So motion and a second to have a follow-up congregational meeting. Sorry, folks on the live stream, we won't hear your voices, but all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So I will work with the Board of Elders, and we will get a follow-up meeting scheduled likely in early December. With that, we have folks... No, that does not delay the vote. We still need to proceed. Please continue with the vote on the proposed ministry plan, budget, and slate of leadership as proposed. We need to know where the congregation stands on that. So please, even though we're going to have a follow-up meeting, we need to know where the congregation stands on the proposal that was in the meeting today. So please vote and get those back to us by the 14th. Okay. Thank you, Pastor. Would you close us with a prayer, please?
Nobody's more concerned about the time than I am, but I do have just one quick comment about congregational meeting. I understand it looks like a lack of transparency and sweeping things under the rug. Two things I want to tell you. One is, as a pastor, I hear all sorts of things, but part of my vow is confidentiality, right? So some of you have sent me personal letters. It would be inappropriate for me to share them publicly. We live in an age of social media where people feel they can say anything they want at any time on social media, straight from their feelings. You and I, as Christians, are constrained by a couple of things. One is confidentiality. The other is Christ's command that we speak the truth in love, which means Unlike most of social media, we are constrained to determine the truth first before we speak, and secondly, to determine whether we can speak that truth in love. And if not, we don't speak. So understand, we have constraints that the rest of the world does not have. That is not sweeping things under the rug. That is the instruction of Scripture. That is the wisdom of God. And that's what we attempt to represent, imperfectly, but that's what our attempt is. It's not a cabal leading the congregation. We haven't had a worship person, we haven't had a discipleship person all year because we don't have enough volunteers for all of those positions. So just wanted to frame some of those things for you. Let's go ahead and close in prayer. Heavenly Father, we ask that we would put your word above all of the other constraints of this world, including our own feelings. We ask, Lord God, that you would guide us to be your representatives, not to be as the world is, but to be as your kingdom is. We ask that you would give us wisdom, that you would give us patience, that you would give us the qualities that you have shown towards us.